tell you actually, Isaac. These are the dead zones currently. You've got a dead zone here. You have a dead zone here. In between is the occasional route of travel, but you know, with this debug spot here, it's going to need a facelift in 2 areas, but once it's handled, because Jace has a pretty good idea of what he wanted to do, but I don't have anything final submitted to me for that yet. It sounds pretty cool. I'm excited to see what he does with it. He always tends to be able to make someone, you know, fill up an area once that information's been given to him, whether or not he's the provider of the design solution.
And here we are, part 2 Electric Boogaloo of the stream yesterday. This one was just dead zone stuff, which I find really interesting. I think most of this is pretty obvious to people who have spent either 2 seconds in the Discord or actually pay attention when they're playing the game. But yeah, I have heard of a lot of these zones just kind of skimming around whenever I do, and yeah, hopefully they can get some more people spread out. It's always a shame when you have these large stretches of map that just are dead empty for seemingly no reason. Even if some of them have interesting stuff on them, some of them don't, like there's the empty beach he mentioned. I forget if it was yesterday or if it's in another one, but anyway. One of them was an empty beach, and yeah, I can see that being abandoned. It reminds me of the archipelago in Legacy, where it was just naked all the time. Just flat, barren land. Like, no one needs to go there, there's no reason. But in this case, a lot of it's just regular map that's not used because, well, no one's there, there's no reason to be there, so why go there? Goes into the problem I was talking about yesterday when it comes to hotspots, and adding more players won't fix it. You gotta add reasons to go to other places of the map. And I wouldn't say necessarily that migrations are the answer to that, but they can help, or they can hurt it, because then you're gonna end up with hotspots at the migrations, and it just goes on and on. But anyway, hopefully their tweaks will help. We'll see how it goes. Let's go on the next one.
So hunger and growth balances are currently in testing with QA and ourselves. God, there's so much information that would be required to go over there. Let me try and condense it like really easily. So most carnivores right now in the live playable session can go to the southwest, west, and somewhat central area. I'm just referring to the highlands in specific here, and survive. No problem. Like, you can completely ignore the northeast area and survive in those 3 locations and be totally fine. Because there is a pattern of player activity attracts player activity. So a bunch of people are going up there when they don't need to. Anything that dies up there is a juvenile currently, which is tons. There's just a collective mess of players. You could very easily survive to 100% Cerato, Carno, Omni, Herrera, and then go to the Northeast Plains after the fact and just go, oh yeah, you're at 100%. All right, cool. Now I'm going to just go PvP. It's rough. I think the only one that has any merit currently to, hey, I kind of almost have to go to the northeast area is the Ceratosaurus. Nothing else. Ceratosaurus itself, yeah, your homie is getting love. He's getting love. Even, like, oh god, so much about him is getting love. Gonna be a good time. He can't see with night vision. Why does every dinosaur need to be great with night vision? It's like Carno. Carno can't run at night with night vision. You can't just decide, I'm going to go running through and be good at everything. Your dinosaur needs to be able to adequately survive. And again, I've said it 1,000 times, you're in a sandbox. A sandbox. You just need to be able to survive, if nothing else. And if you don't like it, you'll be able to mod it soon anyway. It's not a problem for him yet. Just...
Cerato mentioned, yeehaw! So he's going to go on a little bit more regarding some stuff that needs to change about Cerato. Unfortunately, nothing in super great detail, but, you know, little bits and pieces. However, for now, we do hear it sounds like they are going to give Cerato some attention, which I always like to hear. I haven't played too much lately, and if I do, I would be playing Cerato, because of course I would. It's Troodon and Cerato, always. But it sounds like he's been having some problems as of late, which, frankly, I'm not really surprised. Honestly, I'm always glad to hear about changes and stuff done to him. I just don't want to see him end up like Legacy again, where he's just useless, essentially. I still played him anyway because it was fun and he looked cool, but, yeah, there were problems. And I don't know the full extent of what it's like playing him right now in Evrima. I haven't played him very much because I haven't played very much, but it's always good to hear, because who doesn't like hearing that their favorite dinosaur currently in the roster is going to get some special attention, and then you just hope it's good special attention and not something that makes it even worse. That aside, also mod mention, so that's nice. I mean, we know they're going to introduce mods eventually, but we don't know when the eventually TM is, and it feels like just something that'll be years and years and years down the line, so I doubt his soon is going to be anytime soon, but it's nice to hear it again. The more they mention it, the more hopeful I get that maybe within one's lifetime you'll be able to see mods. As we all know, mods are what keeps games alive, especially ones like this, and frankly, they're just very great all around. It attracts people who are interested in mods. Like Jace himself, if I recall, I think it was him that started as an ARC modder and was hired here. I don't remember. One of the ones on the team, I'm pretty sure, was an ARC modder and ended up working here. So, I mean, you want those kinds of people around because they're dedicated. They're making things, they attract fans. It just gets people more involved. Like, you see the mods over in Path of Titans and they get their own, like, trailers and stuff. It's really fancy. I'd love to see stuff like that over here in the Isle, but we'll see how long it takes. And certain tweaks to certain mechanics I would definitely like to see, but we'll see how it goes. Anyhow, that's enough of that. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, it's really annoying to die when you are, just because you are blind. No, I'm sorry, I'm gonna give you a flat no. Even with all of the problems that Ceratosaurus has, to say that you are dying because the night vision is too weak for the Ceratosaurus is not saying something about the Ceratosaurus, it's saying something about you. It has plenty of other problems to go with it, but that is absolutely in no way, shape, or form ever this is the sole reason I died. That doesn't work. So if you would like to reword that to say it's really annoying to die because you are handicapped by the night vision plus whatever issue else there is, sure. But let's not, because I will push back on that one. That's silly, and you should know better. Come on now.
Again, I don't really know how bad Cerato's night vision truly is, and there are going to have to be some dinosaurs that have bad night vision or they're just going to be completely oppressive. However, it is a little bit odd that Cerato, of all things, is one of the ones with the bad night vision, given his role and everything. I suppose in some ways I can see it. He's not supposed to hunt, he's supposed to scavenge. So giving him bad night vision helps, you know, promote that. But on the other hand, I can see it very, very frustrating if the night vision is really, really bad. I could understand people wanting to log out, which he does mock here. I think I cut that because there's no reason for it. And I could understand all sorts of other stuff, like you couldn't see something that showed up, so you perished. What are you supposed to do, sit in a bush all night? I'm not quite sure on that. Because, I mean, if you don't see a threat coming, it will get the first bite, and usually that's all it really takes in the Isle, is just that first bite. Again, I don't know if it's that bad. Just some funny things that I took note of while listening to some stuff in the stream. I don't know one way or another, so I'm not going to say one way or another for sure. Ceratosaurus's night vision could be fine for all I know. Again, while it's shown here, I would need to see it in game and I would need to see it properly. But I can understand people being frustrated if it's to the point where they can't see. Because that's annoying. Something coming out of nowhere and deleting you, yeah, that's kind of annoying. I could see that being a problem. And it starts to go under RNG because you had no way of knowing something was there. There was no audio cues because the audio's busted. And even if the audio was there could have very well snuck up and all sorts of other stuff. But anyway, sight is very important. And you're going to see your threat well before you ever hear it. So not being able to see is pretty annoying. And there's not really anywhere quote-unquote safe to go. I mean, you could try to hunker down in a bush, but if you get caught, then you're screwed. And of course there's the hunger timer situation, because nighttime is 99% of the game last I knew. You're gonna be stuck there for most of it, and that's not fun. At all. Ever. I'm hoping they fixed the day-night cycle by now. I heard they tweaked it. And I've seen less complaints about it, so I'm hoping that is the case. However, I still remember back when I played and they claimed day and night was still relatively even. I played for literally hours and never saw the sun. So I'm always a little bit sus when I hear that. But anyways, yeah. Night vision shenanigans and stuff on Cerato. Let's go to the next one.
Yes, we are looking at Deinosuchus underwater night vision not working for a lot of the players. The issue itself has been found, to my knowledge. I don't believe an issue or a solution has been presented yet, but I also do believe that came up early this week or late last week. I'm not sure. That night vision equals logging time is fine. Everybody is entitled to play the way they want. However, I will just say, weak behavior.
Oh, so I did leave it in, and I did remember Deinosuchus being blind as being a talking point in the same breath, basically. Okay, so yeah, that changes a lot of what I was saying before, how Deinosuchus being blind is one thing, but Ceratosaurus being blind is another thing. Deinosuchus almost only has to worry about other Deinosuchus. So arguably, being blind as a Deinosuchus is less threatening than being blind as a Ceratosaurus because he has to worry about anything that's on land. So one creature being blind, no problem. Another being blind, very big problem. Gotcha. Okay. I think I understand now. I have seen how blind Deinosuchus is, and yeah, it's incredibly, insanely blind. Like, you can't really see anything. However, again, I would need to see further on how well or terribly Ceratosaurus sees to fully go, oh yeah, that's probably a problem. However, the same thing still stands where he basically argued it doesn't matter how bad your night vision is, get good, and then immediately after saying, oh yeah, we know Deinosuchus' night vision isn't working, we're working on it, it's fine, don't worry. So that's a little interesting to note. Yes, again, levels of visibility vary, and again, Ceratosaurus' night vision may not be as bad as some people are making it out to be because I would have to see it for myself. However, it still goes under the same thing where he was insisting it doesn't matter how bad it is, it's fine, versus, oh yeah, this is a problem, we're gonna fix it. Yes, one's a bug, one's a feature, but it still goes into the same line. He was arguing it didn't matter, and it clearly does, so... interesting. Anyway, let's go to the next one.
Ceratosaurus is going to have a much better time with its nutrients. Its nutrient gain, waiting for things to rot. Well, actually, you know what? Waiting. Waiting in general is a very weak area for Ceratosaurus right now, which is being addressed, so. Okay, waiting with Cerato, waiting for food to rot, waiting for things to become bones. There's also an internal bug that when fixed also made Ceratosaurus that much weaker. It technically made his wait time shorter, but it also made him weaker. TLDR, How to explain it? Bones were basically creating a separate value of food after something had rotted, as opposed to being calculated inside of the total amount of food that something should give. For example, let's take a Ceratosaurus that is 1,600 kilograms. Out of that 1,600 kilograms, it calculates that the bones should be 400 kilograms. What would happen is it would convert the weight to the food value. So when you ate 1,600 units of food from the Ceratosaurus, it would then have those bones 400 units of food after, meaning that in total, players were getting 2,000 units of food instead of 1,600 total, 1,200 edible flesh, 400 bone. So the math was wrong. It's not that they used to give so much food. It's that the corpse was giving so much food and then the bones were there. The bones were still being the right amount. So that got resolved, which made the wait times for some of the corpses go down. But you were getting less food overall in total for some things now. So that was across the board. When that was across the board, that affected everything's hunger, aside from the standard hunger times that are being increased. And then for those of you who are wondering, hey, does like Trudon's water, is it decreasing too fast? Or Carno's food, is it decreasing too fast? So on and so forth. On an individual, yes, they've been caught. They've been upped, everybody, across the board, and then some uniquely after. And that's what we're doing at this point in time. Oh, it's a fun thing when you catch an issue that then affects everything else. You have to go back through, verify the new math, double check it, and then see if anything's screwed up.
Bones. It seems the Isle has a lot of issues with bones. This, I think, is the second time I've heard of some sort of bone issue. The prior one being... I remember people saying bones caused a lot of server lag or something ages ago. Found that pretty interesting. And then there's this, and I'm wondering if the two had any part with one another or what. Regardless, food and thirst meters mentioned here, and yeehaw, we've needed that for ages. People have been saying forever that we needed more hunger and more thirst. That's been my #1 concern with this game for ages. You can't do anything when you're constantly starving or thirsty. It's insane. There's survival and then there's chores. And this was very much just chores. You had to constantly be going for food, constantly be getting water. Absolutely insane. This will, of course, mean you have to wait longer when you fall in a hole, which will inevitably continue to happen. However, it'll mean the time outside of a hole will now be spent, hopefully, a little bit longer doing things that you want to actually do, aside from constantly having to go look for food all the time. It just astounds me when survival games think putting your hunger and thirst at a super low level is in any way, shape, or form a good idea. Or a good design. In any way. Like, at all. Ever. It's stupid. There are some games that get this right. I think WolfQuest has one of the best balances I've seen between being able to go do your own thing and being able to, you know, go hunt and stuff like that. It also ties stamina to your hunger, which I found very interesting. You have more stamina when you're hungrier, and you have less of it when you're full, because you don't need to hunt. There's no reason to be running around that much. And hunger goes down very, very slowly. Even when you sleep, you can wake up and you can still have plenty left to go do other things and explore. It's very, very nice. The Isle, on the other hand, is starvation simulator where you're constantly looking for food because you never know if you're ever going to find food. WolfQuest you can reliably find food, so it's not really stressful. This one... you never know if the AI is going to work. And you don't know if you're going to come across a player. And even if you do come across a player, there's the entire likelihood that it's a Deinosuchus or Stegosaurus, and you can't do jack squat about it. So you're left starving. Again, that doesn't go under survival, that goes under, well, now I'm screwed, and I can't do anything. Yes, there needs to be some element of you can perish, which is a part of where the other players come in. And AI doesn't need to be everywhere or anything. but there also needs to be the ability to find it, or else you're just gonna perish. And it's not fun at that point, because no matter what you did, there's just nothing there. Again, it sounds like AI's been fixed, so this isn't as big a problem, but still. If you're constantly having to worry about food, you can't do anything else. And at that point, it's not fun anymore. You're just like, well, I gotta go get food, I just consumed this, it barely did anything, and I've gotta find 5 more boars. The end. I've expressed my thoughts on that enough. Let's go to the next.
Rot times aren't going to be significantly faster. We're just trying to do something where Ceratosaurus can maybe artificially help bump that speed up. And I can't divulge suggested solutions to that because there's a few and I don't know which one will work. We're going to test a few of them.
Now this is interesting. Something that helps Ceratosaurus and something that doesn't punish everyone else. And it'll help Ceratosaurus also secure its kills. Let's say its bacteria, when it bites something, makes the corpse rot faster, especially if it got more bites on the corpse or whatever. Maybe he can do it as he's eating, I don't know. Anyway, it makes it rot faster. That helps Ceratosaurus secure its kills, no one else is going to want to touch it, etc, etc. It's a nice touch, I really like it. And since Ceratosaurus is supposed to, be a scavenger, being able to apply that to corpses would be absolutely fantastic for it. Naturally, one could also see griefing potential where it could go around and bite corpses and whatnot, but, maybe it has to apply it for a little while, or maybe it has to be within a certain range, who knows. Whatever the case, it's a nice idea, and that's me just going off wondering if it's going to be related to his bacteria, because that seems the most obvious route to take. However, we'll see how it goes when it's implemented. I like the idea of him being able to speed up rot a little bit, especially because he needs it, and it'll help give him just a little bit more of a boost. Anyhow, let's go to the next one.
Animals aren't eating as much as we want them to. And by not eating enough, I say that in terms of frequency in relation to their growth. So, Dryosaurus in the live build, in certain spawns, you will grow to a subadult before you can actually get to a sanctuary to get the juvenile mushrooms to give you a growth boost. You grow too fast overall. So this is an issue that impacts some things, and it's just overall the growth times are too short. What we need is players to experience longer growth times, but only in relation to when they don't have a diet. So that basically means up until they get their first meal, or in some cases they need to make it to a sanctuary. This doesn't involve hatchlings yet. Some bigger animals don't have that problem because it takes them so long to get somewhere. But we are settling into the disparity of, hey guys, this is a survival game. You're not going to like some of these changes because they're going to be real rough on you people that like easy difficulty. However, at the same time, everyone has to understand that the moment we do this, it's going to exacerbate certain gameplay issues. We need them. We need them to exacerbate these issues because they are going to be like large proponents of what makes survival, and we can address them as quick as possible as developers. And you don't get those when you just grow to your adult and then go fight in the Northeast Plains and then whine about balance. So everything has longer growth times. At the same time, we've had to look at reducing the effectiveness of single nutrient type diets because, of course, it's weird if someone's out there trying to get the perfect diet and that's like, well, I get the perfect diet, it just gives you growth. You can get a triple insert diet here and that's really, really good. No. A single 1-1 diet is going to be as effective, if not more effective, than having a triple diet of the same single nutrient. So that should be a thing. However, there was concerns because with herbivores in particular, herbivores are far easier when it comes to a diet, even getting out of the juvenile phase. If you can get to your migration zone, you can get your perfect diet easier than a carnivore could ever get their diet. So then there's those concerns for how do you balance for the growth of an herbivore or omnivore, because they're roped in with herbivores here, versus a carnivore, which has a much more difficult time getting its diet. So how do you have the disparity of those growth times calculated? And I won't spoil it, but good lord.
Oh boy, there's a lot to go over here indeed. Alright, so having to eat more, I've already grumped and griped about diets and food drain and all that other stuff. But let's go to the nutrient thing. I think it makes sense that something with a more diverse diet, you know, the more of those little biddles, it has more buffs than something without. So yeah, that's fine. And it is also very good that the fact that herbivores can easily get their diet versus carnivores who are going to have to beg and scream to try to get theirs, because it depends mostly on if the AI are spawning. Because good luck finding every single dino, and if you get a weird one like Stego on your diet, then have fun if you play solo, because you're not getting that. Unless of course you find a baby, or the Stego is very stupid. But under normal circumstances, yeah, have fun with that. So yeah, carnivores should definitely get a higher reward for theirs, because they're gonna have to work so much harder in order to get, you know, even a 2 diet, depending of course on the creature, what it needs to eat, etc, etc. As long as AI is working, honestly, it's fine. But if the AI ever decides to stop working again, then it goes back to, well, this is really stupid, why does this not give protein, why does that not give carbs, etc, etc. It's just... the way the diet system was done doesn't make sense for carnivores, because when they eat something, especially whole prey, that's the whole nutrient thing right there. But, goodness, whatever. Anyway, diets in general are weird, and these changes, having to eat more and all that, yeah, I get it. But also, it goes back to Chore Simulator that I was talking about before, which I have never found fun. And that's why I haven't played in so long. Because why would I want to just wander around hoping I find food when I could go play a game and actually do something? So we'll see how it goes. I can't really say much until I see the changes and all that, but here's hoping they don't make it even more tedious than it already is.
Oh, perfect varied diet has such a benefit now. Hold on, let me grab... Where's the document? Yeah, so there are now, in testing, there are now 6 tiers of diets. So, that should be a fun time. Your perfect diet, golly. Everything across the board got a growth and fertility boost. You will not, even with a perfect growth and utility boost, you will not grow as fast as you used to, so you'll still feel a growth time change. But at tier 6, you have a 100% growth and fertility boost for sure. The current test values that are being ran, 15% stamina regen and vomit debuff reversion, 15% scent and night vision range, 15% standard health and locked health regeneration, 10% bleed resist, 10% blood regen, 10% fracture regen, and 10% blunt resist. So, go get them perfect diets. There's other stuff that'll be tested in it, but this is just a quick little, you know, there's the 2 1+s all roped in.
Sort of already touched on this. Honestly, having more diverse diety things reward you more definitely makes sense. Having multiple tiers of that makes sense. Honestly, not a whole lot to add in that regard. I still have always liked the ideas of diets giving you boosts. The only thing I gripe about when it comes to diets, aside from how stupid they sound when you're doing carnivores with them, is the whole punishment system. but that's not exactly the topic here, so yeah, honestly, not much to say on this one. Like the idea, interested to see how it works out. Let's move on to the next one, which will definitely be a lot more interesting for a lot of people because it covers some things that have been asked for forever.
Well, you get a diet management list so you can select which slot to fill or which slots not to fill. That would probably be a good thing, maybe. But I mean, there's stamina management coming, so that's like right behind the balance changes. Is we've looked at nutrient management, some general quality of life stuff. People have asked for it for a while, and it's just one of those things. Like, hey, we're not just gonna make a knee-jerk change, even though it may sound like a great idea. Mainly because there's usually a fire going on. But same nutrients. Like if you're eating from let's say a boar, your little triple dot nutrient for your carnos and stuff. If you had a diet buff that was already filled up to slot 1 and it's decayed halfway down, when you eat that boar, it will start refilling that slot instead of randomly filling a new one. So same nutrients will also decay like that as well. So if you have a triple diet of like carbs, it'll decay from a tier 3 buff down to a tier 2 buff and then down to a tier 1 buff and then nothing. So and then salt licks will be coming, so you can drain nutrients and things of that nature that you don't want anymore.
Ah, yes, the slot thing. This is something that ever since the conception of diets and varied buffs has existed, people have wanted maybe some form of being able to control it. I personally haven't done any sort of diet tweakage just yet. It's something interesting and something I'll look into whenever I get into playing the game more often again. But I'd probably wait for a system like this to do it, because as it stands, it sounds a little bit too, annoying to deal with. Especially when the first diet, or the first nutrient, I mean, you, spawn in with, I think it's random? I don't remember if it's based on species or if it's random or whatever. I've heard people talk about wanting to be able to choose what little nubbin you start up with, and frankly that would make sense, especially if you're going to make things that are based on different nubbins. If you start with one you're not even going to use, then you're screwed right off the bat, which kind of sucks. He does talk about salt licks and stuff. I don't recall if that was here or if it's later or whatever, but yeah, salt licks will be able to help you with that, like removing nutrients that you don't want anymore. But a slot system that you'd be able to touch on is definitely something that would help those who want to do particular things. And also, filling up the one that is lowest seemed like common sense to begin with, so it's about time that started in. Anyway, all around, sounds neat, sounds good if they actually do it. Let's go to the next part.
Are complete skeletons being worked on? Honestly, there's only one person that I would give that job to, and I'm not giving that job to them right now. That's definitely not happening.
Short, sweet, not much to say on that. It'd be great if they finally did complete skeletons. I do remember skulls and stuff in the channel, and frankly, most of the skeletons, like for Ceratopsians and Hadrosaurs, you could kinda, like for the skeletal portion rather than the skull, you could kinda just copy pasta it and it'd be fine. But yeah, I understand why they'd be a little bit iffy on it. However, I remember Brian doing, skeletal stuff back in his streams, so hopefully we'll see more of that for more of the creatures. I don't know. Anyways, on to the next one. This isn't worth lingering on for too long.
There's something to be discussed about hills, for those of you who are wondering. Let's see, I'll give you an example real quick. It's really the last thing that kind of has to be taken care of is dinosaur pitch and roll on hills. Obviously they used to kind of do this. I know there's no IK, but dinosaurs need to have a noticeable disparity when going uphill and going downhill and also sliding. Herreras really shouldn't be able to just sprint up this hill, maybe a quadruped could wing going up this hill very slowly, but a Herrera not so much. It would have to go through its little cling, which I don't, yeah, we can do it. Hold on. Ugh. Alright, it's just going to lie to me the whole time, but you get the point. But that also means that, like, dinosaurs shouldn't really, while they're moving quickly, there's a weird kind of... It feels like an artificial propulsion that pushes the dinosaurs forward a little bit, so they then kind of, like, do this arc and then fall to their death, and we just want to keep them stuck to the ground and just let them slide.
Funny enough, this is stuff I saw mentioned relatively recently in the feedback section regarding dinosaurs going up hills, their speed, and all that fun stuff. For one, I really hope they get IK back in the game. It's really noticeable when you see stuff like this. Aside from that, it makes sense. Not a whole lot to add on that. It was just a little interesting tidbit. Things with four legs being able to climb better makes sense to me, and it would be pretty neat. And having Harara actually use his climbing abilities on certain steep hills and whatnot would be super cool. That would help him get away from things quite handily near cliffs and whatnot as well. So yeah, nice touch, sounds fun. I, again, hope they get IK in the game again soon, because, eesh, seeing this clip really hurt.
Something else in general that I know will get asked as this all starts coming out, and it's going to be, but developers. What about the hatchlings? Can you make the hatchlings matter? And the answer is, honestly, no. Not until the Elders and Mutations are out can we make them matter. Until the loop is there, it's just for fun, and I know it's not great. I'm fully aware that it's not great. There's no value to nesting other than, hey, friends, come in, because this is the only convenient way that we can get you to us. So, there, it's a Triceratops. I don't think it's set up. Yeah, no sound. Just does the cute little wobble. His skin's not even set up. He looks washed out. So, yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that like there's something super great coming for nesting until the mutations are in. That's really what's going to kind of start setting it apart, or at least that's the intention. Who knows? We've seen things blow up in our face before, but you know.
Triceratops fans rejoice. We get a glimpse of that guy alongside the expected news. There's not going to be a whole lot for hatchlings, and there's not going to be for probably quite a while, to be honest. Until perks and stuff are working properly, like he said, there's not much that can be done. So they'll just hang out in their little zone until whenever elders and all that other fun stuff starts to show up. But at least we got another view of Trike, and if I recall correctly, there was some sort of comment made about Trike and Rex being decently even and how their development's been going along. Perhaps I'm remembering it wrong, but anyway, sounds like the two are doing decently well in development, and so hopefully we can see those guys again sometime soon, but in the meantime, it's nice to see Trike. It's been a while, he's got that cute little wobble as stated. Let's move on.
The lighting update rate has been improved, so no more shadows freaking out every 3 seconds. It's a slightly jerky transition every 1 second with a smooth transition attempting to be applied. That way, you know, nothing explodes. Then we have light rain. So aside from the light rain, because we have 3 types now, there is a lot more visibility during the day for some of the rain settings. Rain is still rain. It still gets dark. It's just, I can concede to people wanting to have a type of rain weather that is not darkness manifest. However, in tropical areas, it do be getting real dark. So we have a light rain and a rain accordingly. Oh, I don't think the rain's set up for the distance camera on the human. So here's your thunderstorms. Oh. It still gets dark, but in midday, visibility. So some of those things should be resolved. There's a thing that I need to talk about for light. No, I don't need to talk about it. I need to resolve it with lightning before I talk about it, because it's not great right now. Water running over the face? Oh, of the humans and stuff? Absolutely. You should totally have water on your screen when it's pouring rain like this, or if you're wearing some sort of facial covering. For sure. Alright. We're gonna have this orange running, this orange arrow running through me, but it'll be easier to see. I know this doesn't mean much to some people, but I went through and started, ripping out some of the visual smaller things that we could resolve. Puddles are only forming now on like 5 degrees of incline, if that, so you no longer have puddles. Here, do this. No more puddles on the sides of mountains. They also have a distance blend, so at a certain point, you no longer have shiny mountains. Good times. So water appears where it needs to be, and don't get me wrong, things still get wet. It's just you actually have to be close. It's no more of the silly far away shrink-wrapped mountain in plastic. There's no shadows in editor currently, because without a graphics disabling option, it was causing too many performance issues for people. We got enough reports of it with the data sent in, so that's been taken out. There will be an option for psychopaths like myself who want shadows in for lightning, because it looks super cool and their PCs can handle it. Let's see. Jungles no longer have lattice trails. What I mean by that is there was artifacting from old debug stuff that we had from as far as Spiro that people had seen, that just managed to retain in the landscape layer, which has been since pulled out. Here. You will come across natural trails now, but I also don't believe those are in the build that I'm on currently in the editor. Here we go. So this is what jungles look like when you have like a more open location now. You don't have like a weird trail that'll lead you up the mountain anymore. We have these fun little like muddy leaves and then greenery spots. Let's see. These have actually been changed too. I just don't have the build for that one in front of me either, but that won't come until February. So shadows are definitely too dark in some locations. Not all, but some. I don't think you can see it here anymore. There's 2 steps that were introduced to resolve that. Yeah, they're still too dark here. Are they dark out here? Yeah, they're so they're still too dark in this version of the game that I'm working on. I'd have to pop over to a different Git branch.
Alright, so more on graphics stuff. So rain, lighting, all the fun. Frankly, again, there's not a whole lot to say on it. It looks nice, the puddle detail's cool. I was talking during the tree thing about like little tiny details being very much appreciated when it comes to games like this that go for, you know, realism and all that. Because it adds another layer of, I don't want to say immersion because of how that sounds, but that's basically what it is. Seeing a puddle on the side of a mountain, for instance, just doesn't feel right, and it kind of snaps you back out of it, I suppose you could say. It doesn't bother me too terribly much, but it's definitely something you'll see, you'll notice, and be like, huh, that's a little funky. I wonder if that's supposed to be that way, and then you move on with your day. I adore the different versions of rain though, like light rain, heavy rain, etc, etc. And of course the different visual stuff to go along with the rain, and actually being able to see in the rain. I'd seen a little bit of here and there of how difficult it could be to see when it was raining in the game, and it just felt terrible. Like, I hate bringing Legacy up so much because I know how people feel about that, and yeah, Legacy's not great. But there are some points that I did enjoy about it, and storms were definitely one of them. The way storms worked and looked in Legacy I really liked. It could have been so much better, of course. But the lighting and... I hate to say the mood again, but the mood lighting. Yeah, let's just go with that. Anyway, it felt nice. It looked very pleasant. It was very appealing to the eye. And it did remind me of things that I'll see when I look out the window and it's stormy. It was just very pretty. And I enjoy it when the environment is pretty, because the environment is what I'm going to be staring at for hours and hours and hours while trying to grow a dinosaur. So yes, I greatly appreciate little tweaks and nudges and changes like this. And even little things like the puddles, yeah, I greatly appreciate it. And the trails. Artifacting and seeing seams and stuff is definitely not pleasant in games. Like, again, it's not a huge deal. There's so much bigger things to deal with. But it's still something that's a little annoying when you do come across it. I was playing one game that had a seam in some of its dinosaurs. You could see where the mesh rolled around it and all that, and it wasn't good. You could see it at a distance. Up close, I don't think it showed, but at a distance you could. And it was not pleasant. And especially when the main point is the dinosaurs. They fixed it later on, thank goodness, but goodness, it was so ugly while it was there, and it took them forever to fix it too. But anyway, yeah, there's a compilation of all the visual stuff he was talking about. I'm not gonna go over every single bit. But, yeah, good stuff. Love to see it. Let's go on to our, thankfully, final piece.
Wait, what did I spawn? Oh, I spawned with the galley colors. I was like, wait a second, why do I look like this? So what if, when you were looking around, you couldn't turn your camera past this point? So if you wanted to look that way, you actually had to spin around. Like an actual animal, promoting more opportunities for group play and coordinated players to take down their enemies. Haha. But anyway, none of this shit anymore. None of this. You can start acting like animals. Wouldn't it be nuts if when you were sparring, you know? Wouldn't it be insane? If your camera went down because you were genuinely fighting something in front of you instead of you just, you know, being able to see around. It's just, anyway. Those are small. Those are quality of life. They don't need to go in at the moment. Last thing I need is more bugs sneaking their way in during what's supposed to be an actual fix for stuff.
And this one will be a doozy. A lot of people will definitely not like that sort of change, and I understand that. We were just talking about vision earlier in the thing. Being blind sucks. However, I do see some merit for changes like this, and honestly, it does open up opportunities for creatures to actually be able to ambush. Because as it stands, sneaking up behind something is nearly impossible. That's why so many first-person shooters are in first-person, because sneaking up on things, plus the added visibility, it's a lot easier when they can't see behind them. So yeah, having a certain rotation of the camera, it makes sense to me. Yeah, it'll be annoying, yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. But at least you're not, you know, it's not a lack of vision so much as you just have to move around a little bit more in order to see properly. And it'll take extra movements of the mouse, or controller, I guess I should say. Again, not as big deal, but yeah, I can see a lot of people are going to be upset about that, and understandably so. Like, as it stands, it's much easier to see behind you, keep a good lookout, all that fun stuff. And yeah, as it should be. But I can also see arguments for the other one where limiting vision and all that, it offers better opportunities. And in theory, this will help hide from predators too, because they won't be able to see behind them as easily. It goes both ways, and yeah, it's gonna suck. But at the same time, I can see it being handy. I almost want to say I feel another game did this with something. Was it Ark? Surely it wasn't Ark. Because I know there's K mode in Ark in order to see behind you, but I almost want to say there was a reason. I don't remember, it's been too long. Anyway, off the topic, but yeah. It'll be interesting if they do put it in. We'll see if they do. But with that, we are at the end. Finally, that took forever. Goodness. This stream wasn't too terribly long. Again, it was only about 2 hours. But as you saw, there was a lot of stuff he covered, a lot of stuff to respond to. Editing through it took the longest. Doing the voiceover portions, yeah, it takes time. But it was not nearly as much time as it took me to fish through all of that and find what was relevant, what wasn't, what was duplicated, all that other stuff. Some of it near the start I outright cut because I was like, oh hey, he's showing off baby animals, that's amazing, that's great. And then he idled on them for like half of the Deinosuchus portion, and I'm like, okay, I don't need this portion anymore because he's showing them off for so long. It doesn't matter anymore. And there are some areas that are going to repeat information, but then he added some pieces that weren't there before, or he completed a thought that he had made earlier on, or was continuing off of, etc., etc. It was a lot. This stream overall was entertaining to watch, and of course it had a ton of information to it. Editing it was not fun. I hated every second of it. But it was entertaining and it did have a lot of information to it, so it was definitely a good stream. So those are my thoughts on that. A lot of the changes, like I said near the start, they seem fine. Like, there's a lot of visual stuff that, yeah, I'm gonna agree with it. And then there's some mechanic stuff that, I'm gonna have to wait and see. People have been asking for increases in hunger and thirst for ages. Definitely agree with that. Needing to eat more, however, is... we'll see how that turns out. Because you speak of increasing hunger and thirst timers, but then also needing to eat more. But I guess that does go along with longer growth, which... I could see that going both ways. With larger creatures, it's going to be more annoying than the smaller ones for sure. Like, a lot of the smaller ones, like Pteranodon for instance, used to be very, very easy to grow. So, a little bit longer isn't going to be too painful there. As things get larger, however, gosh, I sure hope we don't end up seeing, like, massive timers again, because those are just... it's annoying. Yeah, I see in part why it's done, but it also just... it's a lot of time. But anyway, that's that. I'll call it good there. We've gone on long enough. More than long enough. So have a great day, night, whatever time you end up seeing this, whenever it gets posted, all that good stuff. And goodbye!
Thank you.